day of thanks and giving. You know, all that stuff. All right, let's get this started, shall we? All right, hello and welcome. Oh my God, look, Lent. It's Lent. It's not Thanksgiving. It's the season of Lent. Yeah. Hi, how are you guys? Sorry about that. I didn't notice. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here today. I've got a ton of stuff I want to get to as the show progresses. Had a nice little night last night with many of you on KFYI in Phoenix, Arizona. That was good fun. That was good fun. Had a lot of a great response from people, and I greatly appreciate you checking it out if you did. And for those of you who are adding me to your Parler, follow me on Parler. You can follow me on Rumble and also on YouTube. So let's get started. If you're watching this after Thanksgiving, I just wanted you to know I recorded this on Thanksgiving and went live on Thanksgiving. This is big news. U.S. Supreme Court granted an injunction Wednesday against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's restrictions on religious services in a 5-4 decision that saw Amy Coney Barrett siding with the conservative majority and Chief Justice John Roberts siding with the liberal minority because he's a douche. Okay. So in early October, Cuomo openly threatened to close synagogues if they didn't comply with his orders. There was a synagogue in New York that they did a wedding. They just had a wedding, and they had about like 5,000 people there. Could you imagine where do they register? I mean, you got 5,000 people coming to your wedding. Honestly, you go to Bed Bath Beyond, you got everything there. I mean, how many bread makers do you need? But anyway, that's it. So anyway, the governor fined them $15,000. $15,000. Citing a variety of remarks made by the governor, Agudath Israel argues that the governor specifically targeted the Orthodox Jewish community, and he has, by the way, and gerrymandered the boundaries of red and orange zones to ensure that heavily Orthodox areas were included. Sounds a little anti-Semitic, doesn't it? Both the diocese and Agudath Israel maintain that the regulations treat houses of worship much more harshly than comparable secular facilities. And this is true because there are essential businesses like acupuncture facilities, campgrounds, garages that are open. And this governor, or this governor, is clearly he's got a chip on his shoulder with the Jewish community. Is it anti-Semitism? I don't know. But I want you to think about some of the things that are going on in this country when synagogues are being closed down, when people in some states are being asked to rat out their neighbors if there are more than 6 or maybe a dozen people in their homes and from different houses. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. And there's a squad in Maryland to root out those who would go against the regulations. I'll get to that here very shortly. Members of the court are not public health experts, and we should respect the judgment of those with special expertise and responsibility in this area. But even in a pandemic, the Constitution cannot be put away and forgotten. Justice Neil Gorsuch issued a concurring opinion, as did Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And by the way, you want to talk about essential? I'm saying faith is pretty damned essential. Not the best way to put it, but yeah, it's essential. Okay, there are several things essential in your life. You've got 3 pillars in your life. You've got faith, you've got health, you've got your mental, your physical, and your spiritual self. And so I would say that worship is essential. It is as essential as just about anything. So let's move on to the attempted stealing of the election. Before I do that, I want to do, Joe Biden had he had a Thanksgiving address. Now, Joe Biden supposedly had 80 million votes, even though he couldn't draw 10 people to a rally. And he did this Thanksgiving address. He recorded it yesterday. First of all, the background. I mean, my background looks like CNN or Fox Sports or something compared to his, because it's really terrible. It's really terrible. It's bad, really bad. And he only had 1,000 people watch it. He had 1,000 people watching. Here's a little bit where he doesn't know how to pronounce Psalms with regard to a biblical verse.
We're going to lead the world on climate and save this planet.
Shut up.
We're going to find cures for cancer and Alzheimer's and diabetes. I promise you.
He is promising that Alzheimer's, diabetes, and cancer are going to be cured under his watch. He couldn't roll out a vaccine for H1N1 when he and Barack Obama were president. Are you out of your nut? He's going to cure cancer. Are you freaking nuts?
We're going to finally root out systemic racism in this country.
There is no systemic racism in this country. There are racists in this country, but it is not systemic. That is a myth.
On this Thanksgiving, in anticipation of all the Thanksgivings to come, let's dream again.
Oh, shut up. Just shut up. Dream again. You're a foul, corrupt old man who molested interns in elevators and got 10% of your brother and sister and son's earnings for being who you are.
Let's commit ourselves to thinking not only of ourselves, but of others as well. For if we care for one another, if we open our arms rather than brandishing our fist.
Well, you called Trump a Nazi, essentially. You called his supporters white supremacists and racists. So, my fists are still pretty much clenched.
We can, with the help of God, heal. And if we do,
shut up.
And I'm sure we can.
Yes, go ahead.
We can proclaim the psalmist.
It's a psalmist.
With the psalmist who wrote
psalmist
these following words. The Lord is my strength and my shield, and with my song I give thanks to him. I give thanks now for you, for the trust you placed in me.
Especially all of you dead people who voted for me, and for all the people who, like, literally one person voted 1,000 times. I want to thank all of you.
Together.
I realized that it wasn't 80 million people. It's probably closer to, 50, and many of my votes were stolen.
We'll lift our voices in the coming months and years, and our song shall be of lives saved, breaches repaired, a nation made whole again.
God, this is all just vagaries and pleasantries, and he has never followed through a single time on any promise he has ever made as a politician.
Folks, from the Biden family to yours, wherever and however you may be celebrating.
Go away. Let's hear him talk about the psalmist.
And if we do.
Look at that background. That's terrible.
And I'm sure we can. We can proclaim.
We can proclaim. We should proclaim.
The psalmist.
Psalmist.
With the psalmist who wrote.
The psalmist.
These following words. The Lord is my strength.
Yeah, I don't like you quoting biblical scripture. So a group has filed an emergency petition in Wisconsin after finding 150,000 potentially fraudulent ballots. The Amistad Project actually filed an emergency petition in Wisconsin. Thought you should know about that in case you haven't heard of it yet. We're not stupid, guys. We're not stupid. That's my mantra for this whole thing. The reason why we believe this election is stolen is because we're not stupid. We're just not stupid, and we're not, tired of being treated like we are stupid. It's painfully obvious if you look at the dearth of evidence. If you look at, 6 states or 4 states that suddenly stopped counting at around midnight Eastern Standard Time, so ballots could be stuffed, both figuratively and physically. I should say electronically or physically. Joe Biden broadcast it. Months ago, he said we have the most extensive voter fraud system ever in the history of mankind. Let me see if I can find that. I don't have it loaded here. I just kind of kept it because it was so funny. It's so good. It's so good. Hold on. Where's Joe Biden? Yeah. Let's see if we got it here. It's pretty funny. Let's see. If I can't find it, I won't run it. But anyway. Well, maybe I don't. Yes, here it is. Here's Joe Biden saying that he actually broadcasting that they had a giant system in place to steal the election.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sure. Hey, before I go further, I want to remind you that I am giving away on Monday one lucky person who is a either follower of mine or a subscriber on Rumble or YouTube at Rob Carson Show. You're going to get a freezer full of Wagyu beef from Hassel Cattle Company and a Pit Barrel Classic cooker. All right? That's Ryan Gower. He won last month. He's happy. He's a veteran. He's a really cool dude and a big fan. So just go to YouTube or to Rumble preferably, because YouTube, they censor me. All right, so you can go to Rumble and just sign up for Rob Carson Show. One lucky winner is going to get that just in time for the holidays, particularly Christmas. Okay, so Steve Bannon is a cohort of mine. I don't know him personally, but he is on Newsmax TV because he worked with the Trump administration, and he's generally right about a lot of things. And you and I have ebbed and flowed with regard to where we think this is going to go. Yesterday it seemed to be a high with regard to conservatives thinking Donald Trump is going to have another term. And there are a variety of reasons for that, including a meeting yesterday of Republicans in Gettysburg where some amazing evidence was revealed. Also, Sidney Powell released the Kraken, a 104-page legal document that she presented in the state of Georgia. Here is Steve Bannon saying what is coming.
Here's where there's nations heading. And you know when Bannon says something like this,
Steve, I mean, you got to clean up a little, dude. You look homeless.
He's never wrong. Here's where this is heading.
He's got great hair, though.
I can see it right now so clearly. That 30% of Democrats right now, without the evidence coming forward, and the evidence is going to be coming forward in the next 10 days, 2 weeks. It's going to
bring it.
Be a firestorm, what we're going to have. Because say that's not evidence, you're suppressing vote, boom. You're going to have that. Right now, 67% to 70% of the Trump supporters think this thing was stolen.
Yep.
Okay? That's going to get to 90%. It just will.
Wow.
You're going to get almost half the Democrats go, you know what? It's going to be Tariq. Orange man bad, but this was the finesse. This was the finesse. Because he's a smart guy. This is the finesse. You may, and I'm saying 100% that Trump's going to be his victory is going to be affirmed.
Okay, let's hear that again, shall we?
Yes. You may, and I'm saying 100% that Trump's going to be his victory is going to be affirmed. However, in that 0.0001%, if he runs at a time, right, to the Electoral College and doesn't get kicked in the House, and Joe Biden, for whatever reason, does with the nation now a big hunk of Democrats and an overwhelming Trump supporters saying, no, this thing was stolen, it's illegal, and he did nothing. He did not lift a finger when it counted to come forward and help solve this.
Yep.
And Sidney Powell keeps down her path. And Sidney Powell comes, and I'm going to pick a random month, like in March, with the receipts. You're going to have a firestorm like you've never seen in this country before.
I agree 100%. It's 1776 all over again.
This is why it's so incumbent upon, there's no heat on the Biden thing right now. They're nothing but retreads and clerks that you're putting up because nobody wants to be in your faux administration. Here's why. They understand look, we have a pandemic that triggered a financial crisis, that triggered a capital markets crisis. We're going to show you details of what's happening in Germany now with the mask. This thing's on fire right now. There's very uncertain. The financial bottom could fall out of this very easily. Okay? Could fall out of this very easily. The recovery Trump's done has been spectacular, but it could fall out very easily, particularly if you don't keep putting money into the system. And somebody at some point in time is going to say, hey, you could destroy the dollar, you could destroy everything we've got right now. That firestorm on top of blatant illegitimacy and illegality that stole this will cause something beyond a constitutional crisis.
Yep.
It'll cause a societal crisis.
I have been told by more than one person that they are willing to die for this country as founded. Many have been willing to do so, and many are willing to do so now. Many are willing to take up arms if they have to keep this election from being stolen. I'm just telling you what I am hearing. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing. By the way, this is my T-shirt lineup here. America Supremacist. I've got a new one. It says it's Party Like It's 1776. That's up there as well. But you can just go to TeePublic Conservatives and order stuff. You can put it on mugs and all sorts of stuff. By the way, this is out of Wayne County, Michigan. The largest number of cluster votes in Wayne County came from a psychiatric hospital for patients with severe mental illness. Okay? Well, you should know that. A psychiatric hospital, a homeless drop-in center, an apartment block, but no numbers. The Walter Reuther Psychiatric Hospital provides treatment care and services to adults with severe mental illnesses. 97 people at the facility either applied for a ballot or are registered as absentee voters. 78 appear to have returned their ballot. These are severely mentally ill people. Four Seasons Care Facility. 2 incidents. People had died in October, but their vote was still sitting and counted. A homeless drop-off center. The state's drive to allow homeless people to vote seems to have been successful. There are a number of votes received from homeless drop-off centers and through Good Samaritans. Generally, the homeless people are given some sort of food, possibly drugs, whatever, to donate to vote Democrat. 3% of voters for Donald Trump think Biden won the election. That's why there's going to be hell to pay. And it's coming. And it's coming big time. So Donald Trump called into Gettysburg hearing. Okay, there was a big Republicans. They met at a hotel in Gettysburg, and they got together and they're talking about the affidavits and all of this with regard to vote stealing in the state of Pennsylvania. This is Justin Queter. He was I believe this gentleman was a polling observer and not allowed to enter into a polling place. Here he is speaking.
First, the Philadelphia Board of Elections processed hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots with zero civilian oversight or observation. The mail-in ballots...
This man is not an observer. He's somebody else.
Ballots were handled, processed, opened, and counted in Hall F of the Convention Center. Hall F is a vast room, approximately 350 feet by 350 feet. That's about 120,000 square feet. The Board of Elections erected a fence approximately 50 feet into the hall that ran the length of the room. All observers were corralled behind the fence. More than 100 board workers...
We're not stupid.
Workers processed and opened mail-in ballots on the other side of the fence. These masked workers were arranged throughout the 120,000 square feet at a distance from the observers of about 10 feet to more than 200 feet away from us.
I've got pretty good sight, but I can't see, type from 10 feet away.
Unlike what some may have reported in the media, the vast majority, and I'd estimate at least 96% of the board workers were processing mail-in ballots 15 to 200 plus feet from us. Due to the distance of the workers from the erected fences, it was impossible for me or any observer to see what the workers were doing with any type of specificity. The observers were not able to challenge any decision or determination being made about the processing of these mail-in ballots.
So there was no reason for them to be there. Because if they are observers, they were supposed to be able to observe, and they were not allowed to.
No civilian oversight.
We're not stupid.
Over hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots. Zero opportunity for observers to observe, challenge, or inspect the mail-ins being opened. I find that...
And by the way, the governor and the lieutenant governor of the state of Pennsylvania are saying there's no fraud still. This is Gregory Stenstrom. He was an observer as well.
My name is Gregory Stenstrom. I'm from Delaware County. I'm a father, a family man. I was a former commanding officer and executive officer in the Navy. I'm a veteran of foreign wars. I'm a CEO of my own private company. I'm a data scientist. I'm a forensic computer scientist. I'm an expert in security and fraud. And we were told, I was told the next day by the solicitors, well, actually not the solicitor, but the attorney that we had secured, that they said every election they leave a couple of USBs in the voting machines and they're brought back, and generally the warehouse
listen to this
manager comes.
I think you know how much data can be put on a USB.
Over and puts them in. So in talking to the U.S. Attorney General McSwain and other law enforcement officers, I found out that was not the case, that generally, more than two is unusual. So they denied they did it, but as of today, 47 USBV cards are missing. And they're nowhere to be found. So I was told personally that these 24 to 30 cards that were uploaded weren't there. Those cards
Where'd they go?
demanded that they didn't update the vote live time. They only updated it about once every 2 or 3 hours. I demanded they uploaded the vote so I could see what the result was, and it was 50,000 votes. And I think as a computer scientist, an American, and a patriot, it doesn't matter who those 50,000 votes were. I'll tell you they were for Vice President Biden. But
wow.
What was shocking to me as an American, as someone who has gone to sea, gone to war, that that could even happen.
Oh, it can happen. It can happen, and it did happen. Let me see if I can find the. There was an audible gasp I heard yesterday during one of these hearings when they looked at the number of ballots that reappeared in Pennsylvania. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. Of course, Twitter is saying that it didn't happen. Here we go. This is interesting.
First, the Philadelphia Board of Elections processed hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots with zero civilian oversight.
Now, we already heard that, actually. Let me see if I can find that. It's pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable. What I'm going to do right now, though, is I'm going to play the President of the United States actually called in. And I want to play the President calling in and the response that he got from the crowd and what he is alleging. And he is the President-elect as far as I'm concerned.
I will introduce to you now, Mr. President. You are connected.
Networks, but I really appreciate being asked to speak, and I'm in the Oval Office right now, and it's very interesting to see what's going on. And this was an election that we won easily. We won it by a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Official was on this morning on a important show and said there's no way Trump didn't win Pennsylvania because the energy industry was all for him.
Yep.
I saw, with my eyes what happened, and he told me horror stories, absolute horror stories. So this was very sad to say it. This election was rigged, and we can't let that happen. Yep. We can't let it happen for our country. And this election has to be turned around because we won Pennsylvania by a lot, and we won all of these swing states by a lot. Anybody watching television the night of the election was saying, wow, I was called by the biggest political people. Congratulations, sir, on a big win.
And he did have a big win until voting was shut down in several states, several of these battleground states, including Pennsylvania. And ballots were electronically and physically stuffed.
And all of a sudden, ballots were dumped all over the place, and a lot of horrible things happened. And everybody in that room, I want to thank all of the people that signed affidavits and all of the speakers. You're fantastic people. You're great patriots. I want to thank the senators for being there. And it's so important. Day before Thanksgiving, it really represents somebody. Between the voter suppression and all of the horrible things that happened to poll watchers, we have poll watcher affidavits piled up to the ceiling. They're all over. They were treated horribly all over this, all of these.
And Republicans who were there to officiate and to approve and certify the election were threatened in states like Michigan. I mean, hundreds and thousands of threats of violence.
States. I mean, virtually all of the swing states. And
the Democrat Party is a mob.
The other things were happening that were horrible, just horrible. But the poll watchers weren't allowed to watch. They were, in many cases, whisked out of the room, not only into pens that were 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 feet away, where you couldn't even see. They were using binoculars. People are reporting that they had to use binoculars, and that didn't work.
Why? Unbelievable.
If you were a
Because they're stealing it.
Republican poll watcher, you were treated like a dog. And the Democrats had no problem, but they were rough. They were literally pushed out, and it was rough tactics. This is what happened here. This is not the United States of America, what happened, and I think everybody knows that. That's why you're there, and that's why you're so vehement about it. We have many cases of people walking in. A woman, an elderly woman, walks in looking forward to voting November 3rd and says, "Oh, good, where would I go about voting? I'm sorry, you've already voted. Your ballot is in." I said, "No, I didn't vote. No, your ballot is in. You've already voted." In all cases for Biden, by the way. She said, no, I want to vote. Nope, your ballot is in. And then they give her a provisional ballot to sign, which goes nowhere. It's a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. Here is the audible gasp from the crowd when there was a spike of 600,000 votes for Joe Biden. Listen to this.
So at the very beginning of the chart, where there's a circle, it says on election day. What that indicates is there is a spike in loaded votes, 337,000 plus or minus of some votes that were added in there in one big batch. So that was an anomaly in the reporting. Normally you would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes. That's kind of what Greg was talking about, the anomalies of loading and
We're not
uploading
stupid.
those votes. So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And that's 604,000 votes in 90 minutes, is that right?
Listen to this.
Correct. This is 337 votes, 337,000 votes in that
period of time.
Yes.
And when you look at this entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time.
So almost 600,000 votes for Biden. How many of those were for Trump?
Biden.
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
Yes. We're not stupid. We are definitely not stupid. Here is Matt Schlapp talking about irregularities in Nevada. They call it Nevada. A lot of us call it Nevada. If you're from Nevada, you say Nevada.
Yeah, for the first time in this whole tragic story of the 2020 presidential election, a state court has granted Republicans in Nevada and the Trump campaign the ability to present their case of widespread illegal balloting and to just depose up to 50.
This is big because the Trump campaign, the legal battle has gone forward in both Pennsylvania and Nevada.
15 people who know what went down in Clark County in the state of Nevada. So this is big news. You know, a lot of people in the national media have said, you know, if you have evidence of voter fraud, show it. Well, we have thousands and thousands of examples of real people and real life instances of voter illegality. And I just think it's a great step that we're going to have a chance to present it in court. If we get a fair hearing, I believe the results in Nevada should be switched.
Good.
Yeah, I would really like to hear the Clark County clerk explain to people why non-residents of Nevada can continue to vote in Nevada. I can't wait to have him in a deposition.
Yeah,
with his
non-residents, people, that's right, people voting twice, dead people voting.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, which is true in all of these states we're talking about, including in Georgia, where a third of the ballots were cast in the mail. Nevada, half of the ballots were cast in the mail with no legal signature verification, certainly not
unbelievable
in Clark County. That is the big treasure trove of illegal balloting in all of these states.
All right. Well, Godspeed. Godspeed, gentlemen. Let's move on to Thanksgiving and the holidays in front of us and how COVID is allowing governors to become totalitarian and attempt to rob people of their basic civil rights. including the right to assembly, and including being able to have people in your home. I'm going to share a story here in just a second. Before I get to that, I want to share a couple of funny videos from Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid, I like Randy Quaid. I loved him in everything he's been in. Of course, Christmas Vacation, Independence Day, that sort of stuff. He's the other Quaid brother, and here he is. This is a little presentation he did on stage. It's almost like he's auditioning for a school play, but it's actually not bad. It's a little dramatic. And then I'm going to play his really weird viral video this week about Fox News. So without further ado, here is Mr. Quaid. Let's do this.
Is this the way America goes? From George Washington to George Soros?
Good.
From oceans white with foam to a socialist swamp? Is this the way America goes? Is this really our future? Wake up, you sleeping giant. The Lilliputians have tied you down with their fantastic dreams of icebergs melting into dinosaurs and train tracks stretching across the Pacific waters.
Now he's talking about the Green New Deal there.
Trump trumpets reveille, and it's time to heed the call. The framers have been framed, the people disarmed. Conservative voices are silenced in the schools by anarchists left unmasked. Merry Christmas is greeted cheerlessly, even condemned. Is this how America goes? To a nation of godless fanatics? In the shadows of big tech and empty condos, homeless citizens fill the streets, wallowing in their own filth.
L.A.? Anybody? San Francisco? Anybody?
While Big Pharma sedates us with opiates, the food industry poisons our insides, and business organizations kowtow to communist marching orders. Is this the way America goes?
It's pretty good, actually.
In a stupor of ignorance? In obedience to corruption and greed? Ring out, you bells of freedom! Sound the alarm across the land! Oh, glory is being ripped to shreds by fakers and phonies, and bullies and liars who want to destroy our president and redefine the sovereignty of the Supreme Court, rewrite the rules. A day of reckoning is nigh. Wake up!
Okay. Pretty well written, a little odd. Here's where it got really weird, because Fox News has lost 35% of their audience because of a variety of things. I saw my friend Dan Bongino. He says he's very aware as a Fox News personality. And there are many people in the network, they realize how they've bitten the hand that feeds them. Here is Randy being a little bizarre. Kind of like Crazy Santa Claus. Kind of like, Crazy Santa Claus. Well, what was that Bad Santa, whatever. I don't watch that movie. Ugh. Anyway, here he is, this Crazy Santa Claus.
Fox News daytime ratings have completely collapsed. Weekend daytime, even worse. Very sad to watch this happen.
Not really.
But they forgot the way. They forgot what made them successful.
Yes.
What got them there.
Yes.
They forgot the golden goose. The only difference between the 2016 election and 2020 is Fox News.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Okay. All right. So there you go. Let's move on to madness. 140,000 students, state of New York university system were required to test negative for coronavirus before they could leave campus. So those who could not go home. All right. Policy was adopted to ensure the students don't spread the virus to their families. Many students won't return to campus until January as the university system plans to hold its winter session remotely. So that, they call that imprisoning people. That's what they, just so you know, it's imprisoning people. State of Vermont has announced that school children and their parents will be questioned about the nature of their Thanksgiving gatherings after the kids return to school. Listen to this. Children of families that admit to violating the state's rule against celebration with another household will be required to quarantine at home. Are you out of your effing mind? Questioning your children at school to rat you out because you had your Aunt Blanche over. Wow. Earlier this month, Governor Phil Scott issued an executive order prohibiting gatherings of any kind between households. Includes both inside and outside gatherings in public or private places. This is madness. This is madness, and these sons of bitches need to be driven from office. I'm not kidding. They need to be driven from office. The impeachment of Governor Whitmer in Michigan has moved forward, by the way, and she needs to be booted the hell out. CDC is saying now you don't have to stay home for 14 days. Could be between 7 and 10. Could be 7 to 10. My mom, she's 91 years old. She went in for a physical, and they tested her, and she has the antibody. She survived coronavirus, and she didn't even know she had it. She said she had a little bit of a dry cough. And, she's didn't really feel bad otherwise. Dry cough. She had it. Here's Governor Larry Hogan talking about you do not have a constitutional right to refuse to wear a mask in public, okay? This is Governor Larry Hogan. He is not a Republican. He is a buffoonish Democrat in sheep's clothing.
Well, it's sort of like saying I have a constitutional right to drive drunk. I have a constitutional right to not wear a seatbelt.
Nah, bad comparison.
Or to yell fire in a crowded movie theater.
Nope.
Or to not follow the speed limit.
By the way, why isn't your sign language person wearing a clear mask? I mean, she's dead, obviously. She is. She's probably dead today because she did this presser with you with no mask on.
It's, we're talking about 250,000 people dying already. More than, the Korean War, the Gulf War, and the Vietnam War added together.
Nope.
Which part don't you understand?
It's a lie, Larry.
You wear the mask. There's no constitutional right to walk around without a mask. We did it in 1918. I don't know why we can't do it now.
Well, because in 1918, most of us didn't have indoor plumbing either. So, you got to kind of evolve with the times. Here's Oregon Governor Katie Brown. She's locked down the state for 2 weeks completely.
Whether we like it or not, we're about to face what might be the roughest days of the pandemic.
Shut up.
If we want to give Oregonians a fighting chance, we must take further measures to flatten the curve now. That's why I'm announcing a 2-week freeze.
By the way,
for the entire state.
What she says is that as of yesterday, gatherings of more than 6 people in a home were banned. Rule breakers could face 30 days in jail and a $1,250 fine. Unbelievable.
Beginning Wednesday, November 18th. The 2-week freeze includes limiting restaurants to takeout only, limiting retail, grocery stores, and pharmacies to 75% capacity.
Yeah, how's that going to help?
Strongly encouraging.
What happens if the first 74% of the people in the store have COVID?
Curbside pickup. Closing gyms and fitness organizations, as well as venues that host either indoor or outdoor.
There's no science behind any of this. By the way, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announced a deployment of a highly visible coronavirus compliance units. Okay? High visibility compliance units to ensure that businesses and individuals in Maryland adhere to coronavirus restrictions ahead of the holiday, I should say. He's actively encouraging residents to alert authorities of any unlawful behavior. Turn people into the state. Highly visible compliance units. I'm going to go with the obvious. Do you remember the Gestapo? Do you remember the brown shirts? You probably don't because you weren't alive. Most of us weren't alive in World War II. You have an armband, that's pretty visible. You have a brown shirt, that's pretty visible. Compliance units. Knocking on your door to see how many people are in your house. That is the closest we've ever been to a true analogy with regard to fascists and Nazis. And we always hear this thrown around. But right now in these states, you're hearing the same edicts, kind of edicts. New York City, preventing Hasidic Jews from having weddings and funerals and services. People saying you cannot have other people in your home from outside of your household. I believe that there were some people in Germany who hid people from other households. Saying you can only have 6 people in your home. Saying that you need to report to the state when you see rules violations. Saying that you can't be out past 10 p.m. or businesses can't be open past 10 p.m. Let's also not forget that for the last 6 months, Antifa has broken the glass of businesses at night. Kristallnacht, anyone? They've caused $2 billion worth of damages in American cities, death and destruction and injuries. Gavin Newsom, he was apologizing the other day because he went to a dinner. He told everybody, you can't go. And by the way, the governor, no, the mayor of Denver has said you cannot travel for Thanksgiving. And right after he said that, he got on a plane and flew to Dallas to visit with his family. Gavin Newsom had a dinner at the Yountville's, the French Laundry. Apparently things are a lot worse. There were 22 guests, not 12, and the bar tab was $15,000. Masks were not worn. It was there was zero effort to go outside as there was no social distancing of any type. Okay? Check this out. There was a top California Medical Association officials were also in attendance at the party. CEO Dustin Corcoran from the top CMA lobbyist Janice Norman, both and the top CMA lobbyist Janice Norman joined in the French dinner for the 50th birthday of a lobbyist. Wow. So either they have a death wish or they don't believe the bullshit they're telling you. It's the latter. They don't believe the bullshit they're telling you. Here is this jackass apologizing again.
Yeah, no, I made a mistake. I apologized. We had dinner, 4 o'clock dinner in an orange-tiered county.
Who cares?
We're not telling people they can't eat, but indeed, I made a mistake being with a few extra people beyond the guidelines that I've been promoting, which is outside the households. That was a mistake, and I let my guard down, and I apologized for it, and we're moving to correct that in terms of working harder every single day. Never made that mistake before. I haven't made it since, and I won't make it again, period, full stop. Well, I've been tested a lot in the last few weeks, on multiple occasions the last few weeks. I feel perfectly healthy. I tested negative yesterday, and I have no expectation that I'll test any differently in subsequent days.
I hope there isn't an a-hole test, because you're going to test positive big time for that one. Let's hope it's not contagious. Yeah. One more time, I want to tell you, if you want to win a freezer full of Wagyu beef from Hassel Cattle Company and a Pit Barrel Classic cooker, subscribe to my Rumble channel, Rob Carson Show, or my YouTube channel, Rob Carson Show. There you go. Also, I'm on Parler, P-A-R-L-A-R, and my following is growing dramatically. It's huge. Oh, and I have a huge show on Newsmax this weekend. Rob Carson's What in the World is coming up this weekend. It is an epic show. It is really funny. It's the only late night show that's really not a late night, but is a late night show, like Comedy Central, like The Tonight Show to some degree without the guests. And it's conservative. I know, crazy, right? Crazy. Here's Kate Brown. She's got a PSA for Thanksgiving, by the way. This is pretty gross. And if they think that if they put some cute music behind it, they could say anything like "kill everybody," So here's her PSA. The cute music. Don't forget to turn in your neighbors. If you hear there are more than 6 people there, call the authorities. What a terrible German accent. Holy hell. This isn't cute. It's assholish. It doesn't save lives. That's a lie. Bump, bump. Here is Andrew Cuomo unveiling a turkey mask.
And we have a special mask. Don't be a turkey this Thanksgiving.
What an idiot.
Wear a mask. Don't be a turkey. How good looking is this mask, right? You ready?
Well, it just became a lot less good looking.
Look at that. How beautiful is that? Tell the truth.
You look like an idiot. You look like a complete and utter
Especially
moron.
good on me. Covers my nose and everything.
Jeez Louise. Fantastic piece. I'll read a little bit of this. Heather McDonald is with the Thomas W. Smith Fellow. She's a Thomas W. Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute and author of The Diversity Delusion: How Race and Gender Pandering Corrupt the University and Undermine Our Culture, blah, 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 blah. So it's an article. It's called More Salem Than Thanksgiving. It's pretty cool. You should watch. You should read it. I'm not going to get into it all because I could read this for an hour. It's really good. She talked about how, when the Pilgrims came here, it would have been unthinkable under the stay safe philosophy that now governs American life, which means that you have to shut down your church, you have to shut down this, you have to have that. You can't have more than 6 people at your house. They can't be from different households. You got to be in bed by 10 o'clock. All this stuff. Nearly half of the 102 occupants of the Mayflower died in the first year, 3 a day. Such a mortality rate was predictable. The earlier outpost in Jamestown lost 66 of its original 104 settlers in the first 9 months. 1609, following the also predictable loss at sea of a ship coming to resupply the colony. Starvation at Jamestown had grown so dire that residents dug up corpses from their graves to eat any remaining flesh. Other earlier settlers' casualties included the outpost of Roanoke, which simply disappeared. Today, we are strangling Americans' society in order to avoid the risk of infinitesimal, roughly 0.001% for the majority of Americans. If it would have registered, if any possible cost-benefit analysis of governing both notable American endeavors and quotidian activities over the last 4 centuries. A little verbose there. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti: we should assume everyone you encounter is infected. As for the threat of death, the article says most of the population faces none from the virus. The average age of the coronavirus decedents is 80%. That's people who died from it. 4 years higher than the average life expectancy for U.S. males in 2018, just a year under the life expectancy of females. Most decedents have underlying comorbidities. Up to 2/3 of coronavirus casualties have died of other causes by the end of 2020. Would have died. 40% of U.S. coronavirus deaths have occurred in nursing homes and other long-term facilities. Thank you, Governor Cuomo. Sadly, death is already the fate of virtually all residents of such facilities, however much we may understandably try to defer it. Outdoor mask refuseniks have been screamed at and shamed by citizen enforcers of the outdoor mask dogma. But there is no evidence for open air transmission, absent highly unusual packed settings and prolonged contact. In the outdoor, circulating air disperses any possible viral dose to the point of non-existence, even if most outdoor encounters were not too fleeting to be of concern. The mask is believed to possess totemic power, even though there is little evidence that its use correlates inversely with community spread or that it protects wearers from infection. In the faculty housing area of the University of California, Irvine, mask walkers now regularly cover their masks with their hands if they see an unmasked passerby approach, no matter the large berth each will give the other and their short-lived proximity. Magical formulas of arbitrary exercise of political government power once hysteria takes over. New York's Bill de Blasio has long set a metric for reclosing the city's schools, a 3% infection rate among the tested population. He arrived at the number in conjunction with the teachers' union. Is it related to anything real? By definition, no. The evidence is by now overwhelming that children have virtually no risk of dying from the virus, nor do they spread it to adults. A random sample of 16,000 students and staff in New York City yielded 28 positive results. None of these cases resulted in serious illness or death, but they've reshut the schools again. Oregon's governor has limited people to, gatherings to 6 people. How does she arrive at the number? By no known body of evidence. If it existed, presumably the 6-person ceiling would be universal. But Yolo County, California has a 16-person cap on Thanksgiving and other gatherings. Kentucky is limiting Thanksgiving to 8 people from 2 different households. The state of California magnanimously allows a grand total of 3 households. It's arbitrary. It's bullshit. Without any notice of warning, Los Angeles County shut down all outdoor dining on November 23rd, signing the death warrant for thousands of restaurants and casting thousands of workers back into unemployment. Los Angeles has no evidence of any transmission among outdoor diners. There's no cases, kids. I told you this months ago. It is reacting blindly to a rising case count, even though more than 72% of the new cases reported on November 21st were the lowest risk category, people under 50. Nearly half of the 34 county residents who died of COVID-19 November 21st were over 80. The CDC has acknowledged that there is little surface transmission of the virus, yet it recommends that should someone be so rash as to attend Thanksgiving gathering outside his home, he must bring his own food utensils and as to avoid touching the host's kitchenware. All utensils and plates be thrown out after the Thanksgiving meal, showing yet again that environmentalism is usually just empty virtue signaling. Currently, infections among the young make up the lion's share of new cases in Ann Arbor, Michigan. For example, 61% confirmed, and probable cases are connected to the university there. Most of these cases are among the young are asymptomatic. The infection is so mild that the person who has it doesn't even know it. There you go. Males aged 20 to 29 have a 99.9997 chance of survival. Women in the same age group, a 99.9998 survival rate, which is slightly higher than getting out of the bathtub. The risk of death is 630 times for individuals 85 or over. And that just makes sense because everything's a comorbidity. I mean, age is a comorbidity. If you're 85 or older, you have a comorbidity. It's called advanced age. My mom has that. And yet there are a lot of people who are, and I said this yesterday at KFYI in Phoenix, that there are health professionals and they're predicting a future calamity. It's like climate change, an ice age, global warming, ice caps melting. It's always there. It's always that carrot dangled in front of your face, but you never get it. Los Angeles County's Director of Public Health, Barbara Ferrer, has been leaning heavily on the promise of future disaster. Quote, this much of an increase in cases may very well result in tremendous suffering and tragic deaths down the road. For now, however, the number of hospitals that are severely burdened nationally is small. At least a quarter of all cases now being labeled as coronavirus hospitalizations in the daily media count were likely admitted for other problems and only retroactively classified as coronavirus cases following a positive test to get money from the CDC. I added that. California Governor Gavin Newsom has put 94% of the state's residents under another stay-at-home order. Only 6% of the state's hospital beds are occupied by COVID-19 patients, up from 4% in November. Public health officials have no idea what is driving the current spread. They have no hard evidence that outdoor or indoor restaurant meals are responsible. They certainly have no evidence that shopping is responsible, yet millions of livelihoods are being destroyed in the exercise of inebriating limitless power. Quote, we don't want you to going to restaurants and sitting and eating outside, and we don't want you going to retail establishments either. That's Barbara Ferrer again, by the way. Dissenters like neuroradiologist Stanford scientist Scott Atlas and the Physician scientists who signed the Great Barrington Declaration have been denounced for challenging the efficacy of economic lockdowns, school shutdowns, and other mask requirements. I've had YouTube videos taken down completely because I challenged the WHO, which has been wrong all the time. The director of the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington, a major purveyor of pandemic panic, claimed in the Wall Street Journal that the pandemic was threatening jobs and business. It's not the pandemic that is threatening jobs and business. Political decision-making is. COVID is also ascribed a power that it does not likely have. The New York Times has dedicated a special section, Those We've Lost from COVID, ignoring the fact that we lose more each day to cancer and heart disease. One alleged COVID casualty was a 101-year-old veteran. We are to believe that without COVID, he would have lived an indefinite number of further years. President Trump, upon leaving the hospital after a coronavirus infection, admonished the country to not be afraid of the virus, to not allow it to dominate our lives. If Americans do not repudiate this ethic of fear, future Thanksgivings will be even bleaker than this year's, and it can never happen again. It can never happen again. And I said this in March. This can never happen again. This is a pretty funny story. This is a 71-year-old man decided to, he saw a couple, he's a busybody, he's a Karen. And he was out on a trail. Two fellow hikers were sitting on a bench by themselves without masks on. And he decided to walk up to them, spit on them, and say he had tested positive for COVID, just to be a douche.
Police say 71-year-old Hale Powell was pretty much expecting them when detectives showed up at his Westford home this morning.
Okay, I have COVID.
You're an ass. I would have punched him right in the face.
10 days now since this encounter on the Hudson Overlook along the Mid-State Trail.
I would have punched him right in the face.
Two women hikers were sitting on a bench here when Powell passed by and got mad at them for not wearing masks. He called them selfish, irresponsible lawbreakers, and then spit at them several times, claiming to have coronavirus.
I have COVID. I've been tested positive.
You're an ass.
You okay? No. You won't be soon.
Today, Hale's story was a bit different.
The individual stated to us that he is not, but I'm going to leave that up to the court whether or not they require him to get a test.
After determining early on that their suspect was not a local guy, police cast a wider net on social media, and that eventually helped lead them to Hale.
Okay, bye, Hale. Go to Hale. This is a video that has gone viral. Some Buffalo police or Buffalo business owners got together. They were having a little roundtable at one business, and the police were called out, and they chased them out.
These people actually work for their money, and they don't want to lose their livelihood. I've lost friends, I've lost family who've killed themselves. I've seen clients die because they've lost their livelihood.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know you are, and I'm asking for you to guys have some compassion for the people that have lost everything.
We do have compassion for people who
Okay, well, you need to go have compassion out in the parking lot. This is private property.
Bye-bye.
This is private property. This is private property.
Bye-bye.
It's private property. Go get a warrant. Listen, man, this is private property. They're not wanted here. So do your job.
GTFO.
Well, your job is... Well, no, your job is to remove people that are not wanted here. We're wanted here. They're not.
She's hiding her name tag. She had a
I'm
name
not.
tag.
It's right here. It's marked here. You can see my name.
They're just doing their job. There we go. You should all be wearing masks. How come
I'm not
none of
doing
you have
anything
masks
wrong.
on?
Don't worry about my health. My health isn't your concern.
You're meant to be wearing a mask. It's a government.
Okay, well then write me up.
It's the law.
Okay, then take me to jail. It's
not the law.
Then take me to jail.
Show me the law.
Show me the law.
Now hold on. Any court anywhere.
Show me the law.
Well, I think we gotta go, John.
Get out.
You have to leave. You guys have to leave.
You guys need to leave.
You have to leave.
Right now, you're trespassing without a warrant. You need
Mass civil disobedience starts now.
You're trespassing.
Bye-bye.
You're trespassing.
Doesn't matter. We have a right to be here.
Then get a warrant, dude. Go get a warrant.
Bye-bye.
Go get a warrant.
Of course I voted for
Come
Trump.
back with the warrant or
You
leave.
don't write the law.
No, go on your phone outside. Go on your phone outside.
I would really like it if you
Where
would
did
stop
you hear the
shouting at me.
report
I haven't
from?
done
Okay,
anything
we can
wrong.
look at that right the law.
Where? Leave. Who reported
Go
it?
leave.
Who reported it? Who reported it?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah,
Because
it's anonymous, right? It's
Yes,
anonymous.
it is.
They
But it's
can't
a
be
legitimate
anonymous.
complaint.
You need
Get
to know
out.
your accuser. You need to
that's
know. It
not-
cannot
Okay,
be
wait,
anonymous.
you gotta go get a warrant.
It
That's
cannot
not
be
how health
anonymous.
Get out of here.
You gotta go get a warrant.
Don't get the
You gotta go get a warrant.
By the way, they came back and fined them $15,000. They came back and fined him $15,000. Here is a business owner on with Fox News talking about how his business was raided by authorities. He chased them out, and they came back with a $15,000 fine.
I've got you. You're live on TV right now, Robbie. What happened in that video that we all just
This
saw?
is in New York.
Okay, I posted on Facebook Friday night that I wanted to get together.
And this is a guy, he's representing the folks we just saw.
Business owners and protest and fight the lockdown that I feel is infringing upon our freedom. They showed up Friday night. We were about 20 minutes into that meeting when some sheriffs and a Department of Health official showed up uninvited. My business was closed. We were not conducting business. This was a protest. They walked in uninvited. A couple of the patriots that were here with me said, hey, Robbie, there's some sheriffs here and Department of Health officials. What do you want us to do? And I said, get them to leave. And, well, the video speaks for themselves. Those patriots took it upon themselves to stand shoulder to shoulder and tell them to get out. And we were right, because if we were wrong, they would have called for backup and come back. But they didn't. They left.
It's 1776 all over again.
It is our understanding, though, there is an update to this story tonight, and the Department of Health did come knocking this evening. What happened?
They did. My business is closed, just like they want me to. But I was here after hours, and the sheriffs came again, escorting a Department of Health official. I told them to get off my property. I told them that there are procedures they need to follow. This is after hours, and they have no right to be on my property without a warrant. I told them to come back. He said he wanted to deliver this piece of paper in an envelope. I said, nope, call, make an appointment. It's after hours. You can call and make an appointment. He taped it to the door. I finished kicking him off my property, and I opened it up, and it is a fine for $15,000.
Robbie, why do you feel these restrictions go too far?
Any infringement on our liberty goes too far. We were born with inalienable rights bestowed upon us by our Creator. They are guaranteed by the Constitution, specifically the Bill of Rights, the First through 14th Amendments, specifically. Any infringement on our freedom for any reason is too far. Our freedom cannot end where people's fear starts.
Love this.
And I want to make everyone well aware that you're a native of New York. You've spent 14 years serving as an infantry officer in the United States Marine Corps.
Badass.
You've earned many honors in the military. You've got 4 children. We know it's a tough situation. We see your supporters there behind you. How far do you plan to go with this?
I plan to take it as far as I possibly can. I want to ask Governor Cuomo and polling cars, I want to ask them, it's a challenge to them. Come to my dinner table. Come to any of the dinner tables back here. Look our kids in the eyes and say, your father, your mother is an essential worker. They don't have the guts to do that. They also don't have the guts to answer why they get to draw a $225,000 salary for Governor Cuomo, and for polling cars, a $103,000 salary, but the working man and woman doesn't get to earn. They get to take our money, but we don't get to earn.
Watch
they
this.
don't have the guts to tell us that.
Come
That's
on.
the worst
Your
kind of
story's,
leadership.
your story's getting a lot of attention.
Bye-bye.
We thank you for
Rip
your
that
service.
yes.
And we'll continue to watch where this story goes. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, 1776 all over again, baby. Ooh, yeah. This is going to piss you off. This is a mall cop choking out a kid. I'm assuming this is it looks like a teenager. Choking out a kid for not wearing a mask. Watch this. If that was my son, I'd kill that son of a bitch. Watch this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We're about this far from a revolution. We went to the ballot box for a 2016 revolution. We went to the ballot box in 2020 for another revolution. 2020, they're attempting to steal it from us. And that was the first way to do a revolution. There are other ways. Perhaps they are through lawsuits. But I'm going to tell you there are 80 million people who are on a razor's edge right now and are just not going to take it anymore. Just not going to take it anymore. And I'm with them 100%. I hear from them every day. Every day. Before I go, I'll play something that's kind of cool. This is a funny story. This is just apropos of nothing. I just thought it might be kind of funny to play. This is a mom, and you know we've got all these devices in our home. We've got the Alexa. Can't say it because it's right there, and it'll wake up and go what? You know, it's weird. We got a TV downstairs you can actually talk to, and it starts up and everything. Right? You know, we got a smart device in the kitchen. We got a smart device in the bathroom, both bathrooms. Smart device in my daughter's room. Smart device here. I was talking to my wife this morning. Did you ever imagine as a child that you could get up in the morning, you could ask a device named after a girl to play music for you or tell you the weather or tell you a recipe or give you a definition, or there are a million things. What was it in 2001, The Space Odyssey? What was there was a computer. It was, I can't remember the computer's name. I was a little kid when that movie came out. But it is beyond what any of us could have ever dreamed about, even people who are 30. Beyond what you could even dream about. Maybe people who are 20. When you were 5 years old, did you think that you could talk to a device and it would do this for you? I mean, I thought if you clapped and the lights came on, that was a big deal. Here is a guy, I bet he's probably home from college, convincing his mom that the TV now is a touchscreen. And it isn't. He's just playing with the remote. This is funny.
Why is this remote not working right now?
We switched it to touchscreen last night. I already told you this. You actually have to go up to the TV and swipe up and down. We told you that.
Nice house.
Find a good documentary or something. I just scroll up. Yep. You're doing good. Yep. Oh, you scroll down. Okay.
It's not a touchscreen. The hell?
All right. It's time for me to go, guys. Check out some of the new designs on TeePublic Conservatees, will you? Because I get a little piece of that. It helps a little bit. There's like 85 designs, a brand new one that really says it's just party like it's 1776. American supremacist, fake news channel, cancel Fox News, all that stuff. And again, one more time. Let me find the image here. Here we go. One more time. Subscribe to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel. One winner is going to get a freezer full of Wagyu beef from Hassel Cattle Company and a Pit Barrel Classic cooker. And I will choose a winner on Monday. There you go. All right. Time for me to go. I'm making beef Wellington. Oh, let me see if I can find my picture of my beef Wellington. It's in the freezer or in the fridge. I'm doing Gordon Ramsay's version of it. Here it is. Yeah, I can do this. Let me just add this. So this is the beef Wellington. I'll go ahead and add the image here. Hold on one second. This is the beef Wellington I'm making. And I'm doing Gordon Ramsay's recipe. For those of you who don't know, where is it? There it is. Oh, yeah, look how pretty that is. Now, what that is a filet of beef that I filleted this morning. I trimmed up this morning, and I seared it, put English mustard on it, wrapped it. It's in the fridge cooling. I'm going to surround it with prosciutto, puff pastry, and then roast it. Ridiculous. So that's what I'm making today. And I want to mention also that I've got about 100 cooking videos on the web. I just put the link to that on my Parler page. Okay, so, listen, we can disagree on politics, but we won't disagree on food unless you're a vegan. And if that's the case, you have an eating disorder. Sorry. Happy Thanksgiving. Before I go, will you say a prayer for my friend Dan Bongino? Will you also say a prayer for Rush Limbaugh? And pray for anyone who is struggling with their health or in poverty or unemployment at this point. Christmas is going to be a grind for a lot of people, and if you have the wherewithal to give at all, I hope you will. I know you will. You're cool people, all right? Happy Thanksgiving, guys. God bless you. And I will see you again Probably this weekend, okay?